not saying no to the disaster that the GOP is presenting. Our budget is to also say that we want to cut, but we also put on the table what the American people asked us to put on the table. Eliminating unnecessary weapon system from the Defense Department, eliminating tax credits, huge tax credits and subsidies for oil and gas industries, eliminating subsidies for nuclear power plants, phasing out and getting rid of the irresponsible Bush tax cuts. The majority of the American people want millionaires and large corporations to pay their fair share. This budget that's being talked about is about shared sacrifice, and we want to literally share that sacrifice. And the budget begins to address that. It's been my pleasure to work with my colleagues that are behind me, also having great help from Mr. Irons and EPI in helping us put this budget together. And without any further comments on my part, let me turn this over to my co-chair and the person that's worked on this diligently from the beginning 2 to 3 months ago, Mr. Keith Ellison, co-chair of the Progressive Caucus. Keith.
Thank you, Raúl.
I want to congratulate the Congressional Progressive Caucus for putting on the table the only budget proposal that makes sense in this country. The Ryan proposal obviously would destroy our government and hit the poorest people in this country, all for the sake, the obsessive sake, of lowering tax rates further for the richest people in this country. And unfortunately, the president goes halfway when he speaks today. He's also talking about freezing, cutting the civilian discretionary budget in this country. That looks like a line item to a lot of people, but what it really means is the lines for helping our children get the proper education. It means that we have the infrastructure in this country. It means we have an energy system that's safe for this country. It means that there's job training. It's not a technical line, it's the line for the American people. And this is the only budget that notes this of all the proposals on the table. Not the Republican budget, not the White House budget. This is really the people's budget. And it's literally so not only in reflecting the people's interests, but what the public wants, because that's the other phony part of this whole discussion. The Republicans are always saying, oh, we got to hear what the people say. Well, look at what the people are saying in every opinion survey. They're saying that this government is owned by the lobbyists, first of all, that the corporations have taken over, that all the cuts are going to taxes on the rich, letting them scot-free. Today we have J.P. Morgan, another mega profits quarter for our banks. That's what's happening on Wall Street. Do you think they're paying taxes? Do you think our biggest companies are paying taxes? No, the money with agreement of a lot of the Congress and what the Republicans want is off in the Cayman Islands, not paying nothing due respect to the Cayman Islands. But we need that money here because this is America's funding to make sure that the public and the needs of this country are met. So this is what the public has been saying. Cut the defense spending. It's not even defense spending, it's offense spending. Let's get the words right. It's military spending. Let's end these useless wars. They have drained this country's treasury, as well as the blood of our people. Tragic mistakes. Let's get the taxes up on the rich because they were cut by Bush, but frankly they've been cut because this is the way that business has been done for a long time in this country. And let's end this government by the big corporations and the big interests. That's what the public is saying very strongly. That's what the people's budget says. It's the only proposal in this country that has been put on the table clearly with the numbers, with the rigorous thinking. I'm extraordinarily impressed by what the caucus has done and by the staff and by the EPI in putting this very serious document together, because it's a lot more serious than everything else on the table. It deserves the American people's knowledge. Please report it, media, because all the public is hearing is about Ryan, or maybe what the president says today, which is going to go enough damage to our government if we go that way. Let the public know that there are Congress people standing up for them, that saying we need a budget that reflects what the public is really asking for. That's efficiency, that's fairness, that's looking to the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And now we have another economist from the Economic Policy Institute.
I guess I'm the numbers guy for today. So let me first congratulate the caucus on producing what I think is a serious, credible deficit reduction plan. This is a plan that stands toe-to-toe with any other plan in Washington, D.C. today. The Economic Policy Institute has analyzed and scored the specific policy proposals in the people's budget and modeled their cumulative impact on the budget over the next decade. Our analysis finds that the people's budget would balance a budget within a decade and place debt held by the public on a sustainable trajectory. Specifically, the budget would move to a surplus of $30.7 billion, or about 0.1% of GDP in 2021. And debt as a share of the economy would trend downwards to 64.1% over that time. The budget would reduce deficits by a cumulative $5.6 trillion over the next decade relative to the CBO baseline. The people's budget would finance $1.7 trillion worth of public investment over the next decade, most of which is front-loaded over the next 5 years to create badly needed jobs. The budget would strengthen Social Security by lifting the cap on taxable earnings. It would accrue health savings about $300 billion over the next decade, primarily by creating a public option for health insurance and negotiating prescription drug prices for Medicare Part D. The budget would reduce conventional strategic military forces for savings of about $700 billion and end all emergency war supplementals. Finally, individual and corporate tax reform would ensure sufficient revenue to cover federal outlays by the end of the decade. So, in my view, national budget policy should adequately fund upfront job creation. It should adequately fund long-term economic growth. It should reform the tax code, which is in badly need of repair. And it should ensure the security of low-income Americans while growing the middle class. In my view, the proposal by the Congressional Progressive Caucus achieves all of these goals. So let me note that this plan stands in stark contrast to the Ryan proposal that is currently under consideration. That proposal would fundamentally dismantle a lot of the security protections that are in the budget. The people's budget does not do that. It protects these vital priorities in a fiscally sustainable way that achieves a surplus in a decade. So, as the people's budget shows, you can reach a more secure fiscal future by making different choices that result in building a stronger, more competitive America, and support Americans who will enjoy growing and shared prosperity under this plan. Thank you.
No one's speaking for us. This government's owned by the corporations, but the Congressional Progressive Caucus is not owned by the corporations. They're speaking for the public, so you have to report it, please, so the American people know.
Budget, the environmental protections, the EPA enhancement, Land and Water Conservation Fund, grow that to where it should be, and the ethic of balance between the extraction policies of the Republicans and the conservation policies. And for conservation policies, you need a budget. It's a plus in ours over the next 10 years, and there's a real commitment to environmental protection, conservation, and preservation. Thank you. Thank you very much.